Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's Friday, May 10th, 2024. You know what that means, friends? It's time for me to answer your burning questions live. Hey, thanks for joining us on a Friday afternoon. Take a quick second to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching, so you never miss when NORML goes live, and drop a note in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. Christopher, your comment was first on YouTube, and apparently I can see those comments in the feed before I even go live, which immediately scared me to death because I was like, I'm not live, right? I'm not just sitting here in my office broadcasting myself. No? Okay. So thanks for that panic attack. Hey, Woodyard, good to see you as well. Happy Friday, Sherry. Happy Friday to you. Hey, James. Hey, Samuel. Yeah, Christopher, you better wait. James, great. Thanks for going to Lobby Day, James, with California NORML on Monday, right? I hope that was awesome. James says Lobby Day in Sacramento was wonderful and empowering. I believe it. Hey, JC in Virginia Beach. Happy Friday, Charlie. Thank you for explaining how the chat works to me, Christopher. I was legit terrified. Oh my gosh, look, so many people on Instagram. Hey, Monty. Charlotte is getting a step closer. Sorry, I can't, it doesn't let me show your Instagram comments in the feed. Hey, 3-piece in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to talk about Florida in a little bit. Hey, horror in Phoenix. Hammer in San Francisco. Sunfish in Minneapolis. Elizabeth in Niantic. All right. Hey, Sarah in St. Louis. Hey, Arpane in Keystone Heights. Happy Friday to you, Adam, on Instagram. Hey, Lance. Howdy, friend. Howdy. Hey, Chris. Chris from NORML South Africa. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hi, JT. All right. Hey, BCS from Florida. All right, let's hey, Roman from Texas. Let's talk about some news. So we published a blog today that is pretty fantastic. So this is about a poll that was done, and it turns out that the majority of Americans have tried marijuana, and they say it should be legal. You can read that on the front page of NORML. And I will add this comment from NORML's Paul Armentano, who writes, most Americans have tried cannabis and few regret having done so. This is why our political opponents spend so much time opining that today's marijuana is somehow inherently different than the cannabis of the prior decades. They're trying to convince Americans that their positive firsthand experiences with cannabis are no longer relevant. Fortunately, most adults know otherwise. And this is reflected in the public's consistent support for legalizing and regulating cannabis. Check out that blog, norml.org. Right, BCSO? Right. Chris says, do they really need a study to confirm that? I mean, you know, never going to be mad about data. Yeah, I thought that was really insightful. Paul, of course, he talks about this a lot and why the prohibitionists have pivoted back to, oh, it's not your grandma's marijuana. They're trying to discount Americans' own experience with cannabis. Speaking of Americans and their experience with cannabis, Florida. Yeah, Florida's going to Florida. And Florida real hard this week. It's almost like elections have consequences, friends. It's almost like we could be making better choices with the people we elect. But I encourage you to read this not so delightful blog. Well, the blog itself is fine, but the information in it. The Republican Party of Florida is now asking voters to reject Amendment 3, which would legalize adult use marijuana in the Sunshine State and regulate retail sales. And the governor is throwing down, saying, oh, I'm going to raise money to help defeat this, and claims that passing Amendment 3 would reduce the quality of life. Okay. Sure, buddy. So remember, in Florida, Amendment 3 is a constitutional amendment, so it will require 60% of the vote, not a simple amendment, not a simple majority. So if you are in Florida, if you know someone in Florida, make sure they are ready to vote yes on Amendment 3 in November. All right. Christopher, no, James, you said it. James, I'm not going to show your comment because there's some words we don't say on this show. Not a lot. Those two together, we don't. But as James mentioned, this week, was it this week? It doesn't matter. Maybe last week, whatever, however time works. Paul, NORML's deputy director, was live on C-SPAN debating one of the nation's leading, if not the nation's leading, prohibitionist. And it's a really, really excellent debate. I know C-SPAN's probably not at the top. No, Christopher, I wasn't going to, but I guess I could. C-SPAN's probably not at the top of everyone's TV watching list, but in this one case, it should be. I'm even going to post it on Instagram, so you can grab that link if you want. It is also, if you're rewatching this later, you can find the link to the C-SPAN debate on the front page of NORML in the blog article called Federal Marijuana Rescheduling Announced. So if you miss it, that's where you can go get this link. But Paul just does a fantastic job at taking this clown to town. What's super fun is when he had the opposite, the prohibitionist, has plants call in. The callers aren't real callers. They're people that work for him who call in and say, oh, this happened. This thing happened. Can you respond to that? And Paul knows who they are and calls it out on air. Thanks, Christopher. Thanks, Christopher. Chris says, yeah, the interview with that guy and Paul was epic. Roman. So yeah, Roman asked, what about rescheduling? So that's what this C-SPAN debate that I'm talking about right now has to deal with. There's a lot of content that NORML has been quoted very heavily in recent days about about rescheduling. But hey, in case you missed it, Roman, I'm going to drop a link in the chat for you right now, in the comments rather. You should see it in just a second. You can read the federal rescheduling blog. And thank you to James, who says it's definitely worth watching. Sue, you have a question about Virginia. What about the new Virginia program? Because there's no requiring. I do have more info about this. And I don't have, bless it, I don't have Safari open, which is where that's bookmarked. Let me find it for you. But in Virginia, there is an adverse events reporting form on why would this come up easily for me right now? Listen, it's there somewhere. Yes, that's true. There's a form, Sue. I'm not going to find it right now. You can probably find it on the Virginia NORML website, but it's just a Google form for reporting adverse events. For anyone can use it, a parent, the consumer, a healthcare provider. It just happens to be disseminated to healthcare providers. And I thought that the way in which DHP, or VDH rather, disseminated it was rather unfortunate, because they build it as, oh, this is about children, but it's not. It's just an adverse events reporting portal. So if you consume any product that contains THC, then you can report in Virginia. Then you can report your adverse effects using the form. It's not just about kids, but that seems to be all the news is about, because that's how VDH framed it when they sent out the email. I am, Christopher, I am. Hey, Man Called Horse on Instagram says California is trying to roll back employment protections. Yeah, I think, did we talk about that last week? I'm going to look at the ACT page right now and see if I can find any updates on that. I don't have any updates on that. I just have on our ACT page, the consumption venues page, but California NORML may have some more info on that. Trying to catch up with your comments. Thank you, 3Ps, for your comments on Instagram. Oh no, so sad. No, pronouns are difficult. Hey, Barefoot Randy. Barefoot Randy asked if we talked about the Border Patrol situation in New Mexico. I've talked about it the past few weeks. We're aware that it's happening. Unfortunately, Border Patrol does have that authority to confiscate, at least according to the email that someone had emailed us and Keith responded. And that was his sentiment, was that this is an authority that Border Patrol has apparently always had, and is for some weird reason choosing to exercise it right now. Hey, Skyline. Good to see you. Nesto Waldy on Instagram says, any legalization in the near for the state of Georgia? See, you have to elect people in Georgia who aren't crazy. So elections have consequences, friends. And if you elect people who are terrible on cannabis policy, then you will get terrible cannabis policy. Fortunately, we got you. We can help you when it comes to voting. Of course we can. You're going to head to vote.normal.org before you cast your ballot. And then you'll be able to see where the candidates stand on cannabis policy. And then keep in mind, even after the election's over, regardless of whether or not you voted for this person, if they now represent you, you have to communicate with them, and you have to tell them where, what matters for you, and where you stand on certain bills that will be before them. So, yeah. Christopher is asking about presidential endorsements. We're going to give you grades on Smoke the Vote. That's what we're going to do. It's not necessarily about endorsements. It's about the grade and how an individual is ranked according to their score, according to their on-the-record statements. What are we voting for, Roman? Well, that depends on where you live. I froze. Did I freeze totally? It looks like I'm BCSO. It looks like I'm still streaming on Instagram. Tell me if I'm not. Yes, Christopher, that's accurate. Okay. Speaking of elections, though, hey, if you're in South Dakota, third time's a charm. Third time's a charm. This week, South Dakota activists turned in signatures for placing a legalization measure on November's ballot. They turned in about 40% more signatures than are required. So this will go through the review process now, where they make sure that there's enough signatures and they validate them before we will know if the Secretary of State's office approves it. Let's see, it would permit adults to, of course, possess cannabis for personal use, and home cultivate limited quantities of cannabis. Okay. So possession would be 2 ounces of flour, 16 grams of concentrates, and up to 6 plants. It does not establish any rules or regulations for commercial enterprises to either produce or sell cannabis. So, we'll call it legalization, but it's essentially the kind of legalization that we have in DC and Virginia, where there's no retail access. Fun. No, James, literally never. Come on. Why? He's terrible on cannabis policy. Anyhow, South Dakotans for Better Marijuana Laws has more info on that, and you can check that out on the NORML blog. Of course, if this does qualify for the ballot, then we will add it to NORML Election Central. Hey, Tree. It's the best mime impression. Maybe I'm just freezing. Maybe it's just me. All right. Got got some new, well, we talked about this last week because we shared the Senate's press release on this, but I have our own to share with you this week. U.S. Senate leaders reintroduced the cannabis. They reintroduced CAOA, the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, last week. I think technically it was last week. Maybe it wasn't last week. Whatever. They reintroduced it. The previous version of CAOA was in the last Congress. So I would say it was reintroduced. But this was Senators Cory Booker, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and Finance Committee Chair Ron Wyden, plus 15 other Democrats who introduced S4226, Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act. It would remove marijuana from the Federal Controlled Substances Act, thereby empowering states to regulate marijuana as they see fit. It does other things too. It doesn't tell states what to do. It gives them the tools to implement their own laws. Anyhow, you can find out more about that on the NORML blog. What are we going to do next? Let's talk about, remember how we were talking about Border Patrol? This is kind of, I feel like it's just tangentially related to that. So there's a recent report on seizure data that suggests that state legal cannabis markets have significantly curbed the demand for illicit Mexican-grown marijuana. So maybe they don't have enough weed to seize at the border, so maybe they've got to go chase down legally grown cannabis in New Mexico. I'm kidding, but you can read about that on the NORML blog. I mean, again, this just speaks to the fact that legalization is working as intended. 2 more stories for you. 2, if I can bend this thumb, 2. I like this story. It is strange, isn't it, Randy? So there's a study done, and it was done specifically on cancer patients who are in palliative care. And they were using oral THC, so like a tincture. And I think it was around, I think that the dose was about 4.7 milligrams a day. And the study authors concluded that the data did show a significant impact of THC on survival in these particular patients. So, read about that. I hope if you know someone with cancer that they have access to medical cannabis in their state. Seems pretty unfair when, millions of Americans have that. Most Americans have that in their state, but not all. That seems unfair. And one more also extract related study to tell you about. This one is about chronic pain. And in this study, the results indicate that cannabis treatment was associated with sustained improvements, sustained reductions in patients' pain intensity, in their opioid use, in their anxiety, depression, and in sleep deprivation. So did seem that cannabis extracts reduced what they refer to as disease burden in these chronic pain patients. Hello, Great One Divine on Instagram. Hello, everyone else who's just joined us on Instagram. Go ahead and do me a favor, hit that follow button. That'd be fun. I did all the news. I had so many newses and we did them all so quickly. Do you have questions? Ask them now before it rains and then we don't have internet. Hi, Wade. Happy Friday. I want to tell you all about a few other events coming up. What did you miss, Wade? You missed all of the news. Remarkably, we're done with the news at 4:30. Conveniently, you can get it all delivered straight to your inbox tomorrow morning, Wade, when you subscribe to NORML's Weekend Weed Read. So NORML delivers news every Thursday at 4:20 because we got jokes. And Saturdays, you can subscribe to get the Weekend Weed Read. That delivers about 9 a.m. Eastern. These times are Eastern because I'm on the East Coast. You're going to go to normal.org/subscribe. Make sure you check that Weekend Weed Read box so that you always get it delivered. Otherwise, it won't deliver to you necessarily. Christopher. I'm never not ready for this question, Christopher. Christopher asks, what's my favorite type of cannabis? As Christopher well knows, my favorite cannabis personally is legal cannabis. All right, friends. Hey, if you were trying to shop the NORML store before and it was all whack, it's not anymore because Randy's a rock star and fixed it. Huzzah. It works. So now you can go to the NORML store and buy things. It's at store.normal.org. What else? We talked about Smoke the Vote earlier. We talked about Weekend Weed Read. I want to tell you about some other events coming up soon. Suncoast NORML, which is a NORML chapter in Florida, they stream live on YouTube Sundays at 11. So you can check out the rotation by Suncoast NORML on their YouTube channel. Just search Suncoast NORML. Or you can find them on Instagram. They have links to their content on their Instagram as well. Oh, hey, Barefoot Randy, you can just send us an email. I think it almost doesn't matter which one you use because I'm going to see them all. But you can really just email normal@normal.org and I'll get that too. Great One Divine is asking if Virginia NORML will have a banquet. So Virginia NORML has the Green Gala, the Commonwealth Green Gala in January in conjunction with the Virginia Cannabis Conference. So we did have that. We might do a fundraiser toward the end of the year. Not the end of the year, but like not right this minute. But early fall. How about that? I'm just making updates at this point. But speaking of Virginia, I did go to the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority Board of Directors meeting on Wednesday. It was, I don't have anything super exciting to report. I mean, not from the meeting anyhow. But what is interesting, other than I don't know how technology works, coming up on Monday, I had to look. Monday the 13th at 2 p.m., the Virginia Cannabis Public Health Advisory Council meeting will be happening. And if you're in Virginia, I highly recommend streaming that. Highly. Now, good news. I always have good news for you. Virginia NORML board member, that's how I need to say that, right? Virginia NORML board member, Nigist Abebe, is vice chair, I believe, of, we call it CPAC. So there's a voice of reason there. There's a person with actual, and Nigist worked in the cannabis industry, and so there's a person with a lot of relevant knowledge on this advisory council, fortunately. But there's also a lot of other people on it. So you should stream it if you can. You can go in person too. I don't know if they've even posted. I think it's at the Patrick Henry building. It is at the Patrick Henry building in the East Reading Room. It's 2 o'clock on Monday. Now, for back to things that everyone cares about. Hey, who wants to hang out in Aspen? I thought you did. I thought you'd probably want to do that. Hey, if you want information about Aspen and you're watching on Instagram, it is pinned to the top of NORML's Instagram. Just go there, click on our link in bio, and click on the Aspen Square. It'll take you right there. Otherwise, it's norml.org/Aspen. This is May 30th through June 1st at the beautiful Gant in Aspen, Colorado. Now, if you are an attorney and you need continuing legal education credits, NORML's legal seminars are fully accredited in every state that requires CLEs for their practicing attorneys. If you do not need CLEs or you're not an attorney, good news, we have a discounted rate for you. Just head to norml.org/Aspen and register in advance. As much as I love when you show up and want to register when you're there, and we don't have accurate count, so please register in advance. Definitely come hang out with me and Keith and Paul in Aspen. And right after that, why not go back to the East Coast for some East Coast fun? Coming up June 4th through 6th, NORML will be in Manhattan for the CWCB Expo, which is a really great trade show. Now, our friends at CWCB Expo are hosting the NORML Formal this year at their B2B rooftop bash. You can find out full details on this at norml.org/normal-formal. That's right. I can't tell if it says it's not posted on Facebook. No, it is for sure. We'll have a link added to Instagram for this next week. But there's also links to this in the weekend we read, and it was in Saturday's email as well, Thursday's email, whatever, however time works. And you can use code NORML24 to get free expo passes. Now, I have a limited number of free expo passes, but you can still get one. Just follow the link, use code NORML24 for a free pass to CWCB Expo, to the exhibit hall. And if you want to upgrade and get a seminar pass, then you can use the same code to get 50% off that upgrade to the seminar pass. Tickets are required for the B2B Rooftop Bash in order to attend that and the normal formal that is happening within that event. You can get those on the registration link as well, and registration for the expo is required in order to purchase that Rooftop Bash ticket. But again, we got that free expo pass for you, so do it. If you have a cannabis business, I mean, maybe it's not a cannabis business. If you have a business, do you have business? If you'd like to support the NORML formal, we will be doing giveaways at the NORML formal. We will have gift baskets. And so if you have a great item that you would like to donate to include in one of these gift baskets, there's total information for that on the website, norml.org/normal-formal, NORML-FORML, of course. This is also on Facebook. There's an event for it on Facebook now, too. And then, hey, coming up a little bit later, but still worth playing for, if you're in Indiana NORML, we'll be having their 50th anniversary celebration on July 20th. You can get details for that. Indiana NORML's Facebook, probably on their website, or in the comments. Yeah, we did it. We did all of the news. We did all of the everything. I love it. There's still some states have wound down or starting to wind down their legislative sessions, but some are still going full speed ahead. And even if your state's is done, Congress is in session. So you might consider spending a few minutes this weekend, and literally it just takes a few seconds to send these action alerts. Go to NORML's Take Action Center at norml.org/act, and you can click on your state, see if there's any pending legislation. We are tracking 44 state bills, and then we have a number of federal bills that have action alerts as well. I'm even going to drop that into the comments on Instagram for you at norml.org/act. And contact your elected officials in support of good bills and in opposition to terrible ones. It's always a good idea. All right, we did it all. We did all the things. Set the plants out because it's going to rain. Is that what you mean? Hey friends, this has been fun and surprisingly quick this week. Before we part ways, take one quick second to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button, especially on Instagram. Hit those. I think someone just died in the other room. Hit those like, follow, or subscribe buttons so you never miss when NORML goes live. We try to do this every Friday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Sorry if you're joining us now. We're about to end. This whole show will be archived on NORML's YouTube. You can also find it on NORML's Facebook, our LinkedIn, and our Twitter. Huzzah. All right, friends, I have definitely enjoyed hanging out with you all You all make me laugh every week, and I just really look forward to it. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here next time. Thanks so much.